Hello. So we're back to Project 2045, and we're going to continue talking about our economic system today. Specifically, we're going to look at the land. And my opinion is that the land is like a really major factor in our system, and our understanding of the land as a commodity is probably the core issue that is giving us a lot of problems. So if we look at the land as a commodity, it's an instrumentalist approach. It means we're looking at land, the value of land, not for its own sake, but for the sake of what it can give to us, which is, economic benefit. I'll talk a little bit about the intrinsic value of the land later on, but let's think now of the economic value of the land. So, first of all, if it's all privately owned, then that means that other people can't actually have access to land unless they pay whatever the landlord is asking. And that could be a huge amount. That is a huge amount. And today, most of us realize that actually corporations have gotten in on this and have bought up most of the land and a huge amount of the housing, and then they have turned around and rented it back to us for a very large amount. Rents have gone up incredibly, doubled, maybe even tripled. And this isn't just America, this is happening in other places too, specifically in Europe and probably other places. So we have to do something about this. And one thing we could do, which I sort of brought up, not as a real possibility, but it is a theoretical possibility, is just that we don't have private ownership of land. And that's a possibility, but there are some good points of owning land. So we have to sort of think about that a bit more. But another possibility is to discourage the ownership of land, private ownership. And that could be effected by use of a land value tax. Okay? So usually when you tax something, you tax it because you want to discourage it. I mean, it has the effect of discouraging it, right? But so we tax work, we tax people's wages, which is sort of silly because we have no right to people's wages. So how about if we tax the value of land? Do we have a right to it? Right? Let's think about that. We obviously have a certain right to the land because we exist on this planet. And we exist just in the same way as even the landowners exist. We exist on this planet. So yes, we have a fundamentalist right to the land. But how about an economic right? Let's have a look at that. So that sort of depends on, what increases the value of the land, what gives land its value. So say you're an industry and you're looking for somewhere to locate your business. What would be important to you? So you would want to see that there are easy lines of distribution for whatever it is that you're producing. And there's a market for whatever it is that you're producing. So you would be interested in having good roads. You'd be interested in having maybe rail lines nearby. You'd be interested if there was a port or access to rivers, right? So all of these things give value to the land that you're seeking. And so then you have to ask, why do these things exist? And the roads exist, good roads exist, because of the investment from the community through their own taxes. Good public transportation may exist if you're looking for housing through the investment of the community. Say there is a subway line that's going to be built through your community and you live in a big city, then what that would do is it would raise the value of your home. It doesn't change your home. Your home is busy depreciating, actually, if anything. But it means the increased access to transportation into work and so on makes your home increasingly valuable. It's the land that is increased in value. So what happens is that the owner of the land gets all of the benefit from the improvements that have been made to the infrastructure by the taxpayer. And the taxpayer may not be anywhere near that land. I mean, somebody in a city from the other side of the city may be paying for the subway system that's going to increase the value of your house. Therefore, yes, the community and the taxpayer actually has an economic right to some of the increase in value in your land. But we don't tax that. So we allow people to buy land and to reap all the benefits of any increase in value that causes. So now we have a big problem in the houses and land and so on are privately owned, many times by corporations, and they are actually able to walk away with all the increase in the value of that land. So there is actually like a moral right to benefit from the increase in value of the land, for everybody to benefit. And that's what a land value tax would do. So a land value tax is not a tax that's placed on the houses or the buildings. It's placed on the value of the land, the location basically, and the infrastructure around it. What you pay right now, a homeowner would pay a property tax, or a business owner. Then that would be based on the structures on that land. So if it actually discourages the improvement of the land, it discourages you from making your house more valuable by, adding on a room or something. Because if you do, you have to pay more taxes on it. So a property tax isn't really a good idea. A land value tax is much better. So let's just think a minute about the intrinsic value of the land, right? So back in indigenous times, when when a lot of people lived in indigenous ways and communities, they saw the value of the land not in something economic, but in just the role it played in their lives. So obviously it supported them. They thought of the land as having maybe a more spiritual value, right? They had a much greater sense of the enchanted nature of nature and the land. So like Native Americans might have thought that the land is shaping the community, as well as the community obviously participating in the land. So it was a much more participatory perspective. But for us, if we have private land ownership, then our children don't have access to land anymore. Our children don't have access to woods and streams and nature. They can't go out and play because it's all privately owned. And it seems like as soon as you own a piece of land, you want to keep everybody out. So suppose we had a land value tax, then it has to actually confer still the certain rights that belong to people who own their land. So it shouldn't mean that anybody can come on your land necessarily, right? So what it does though is it discourages you from holding land unnecessarily, right? Because you couldn't make such a big profit from it if you have to pay a land value tax. So it discourages speculation. So, for instance, people wealthy people might buy up a big part of a neighborhood that is decrepit, that the houses are falling down, and just sit and hold it because the prices are very low, and just hold it for like years, even decades maybe, until the city decides that they have to do up that part of the city, right? And then at that point, then they will sell back their land to the city for a hugely inflated price. Or they will be able to sell I guess they'd have to sell it to the city. So they would benefit from that. So that's why a lot of houses are just falling apart, and the city doesn't seem to be doing anything about them, because wealthy people are holding on to them until their value increases. All right, so let's stop here and we'll talk more about land as we go forward.